بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. My brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, with Allah's grace and mercy, with Allah's gift and bounty upon us, we meet again in another episode of this series of classes in which we study Nahu. And let me begin the class today with how we started our chat before the class. The purpose, reminding ourselves with the purpose for why we study Nahu. We study Nahu so that at some point we will be able to access the Quran directly, rather than relying on the words of other people that will have to be mediums between us and the Quran. And the impact of receiving the meanings, the same concepts from Allah's words directly is much greater than hearing it from the mouth or from the words of somebody else. Until you learn Nahu properly, you will be reliant on somebody else coming and interpreting things for you. And while you listen to them, you don't know how much of that is their own words, their own understanding, how much of that is an extra twist they added to the mix, how much of that is correct interpretation and how much of that is wrong interpretation, how much of that is influenced by their own life experience versus that which is purely the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The impact, sometimes you will be in a position in life where you are going through a test, a hardship, a state of confusion, where what you read is the juice, the nectar of Allah's word. Just one sentence from the Quran. If you can access it yourself, it will help you a lot. So remind yourself of this. And I've said this previously, because how much aid and assistance you receive from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is dependent on your intention. If you're doing it for the sake of Allah, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you aid in this journey, because this is who He is. Allah promised to aid those who are in aid of His purpose. Those who are working for Him, He will be an aid for them. And I also mentioned previously that your intention may vary as well. Somebody may be learning this deen, like I just said now, in order for them to be in a safe position, for them to find happiness, for them to be content, for them to remove all the confusion and all the doubts from their hearts. But somebody else could have that intention, and on top of it, to promote the word of Allah, to propagate the message. Who the first one has one intention alone. The second one has two intentions. Right? One also has the intention of defending Islam. That's another intention, sir. Because promoting the word of Allah is one thing, and also being able to meet the people of deviations, the people of deviance, and confronting them, refuting their words. That's jihad fi sabilillah. Do you see that this is a third intention? Right? So the more intentions you have, the more good intentions you have, the more of Allah's aid you will receive. So there is nothing better than spending some time before you do any work, just purifying your intentions, intensifying the good intentions you have behind any work that you do for the sake of Allah. Nahu is also one of those things. If Allah aids you, you'll find things will become very, very easy for you. At the moment, we are studying Al-Dama'ir, pronouns. And this is the first category or the first subcategory in what? In Al-Mabniyat. Al-Mabniyat, fixed words. And these are words that do not change. They don't change depending on the amil, depending on the influencing word before it. They don't change. They have fixed end and it will not change. So this is what we are going through now. Alhamdulillah, we covered the general diagram that describes the journey of studying Al-Dama'ir. So Dama'ir, pronouns in general, can be looked at as categorized into or divided into two things. What are they? الضمائر. لا, before that. الضمائر البارزة والضمير البارز, which means the apparent one, الظاهر, or and on the other side الضمير المستتر. طيب. When it comes to الضمير البارز, it's of two types or of two categories, right? What are they? المتصل والمنفصل. That which is متصل, and we say it's called متصل because of what? Attached to the عامل. The عامل is attached, is in the same word, it's attached to it, huh? It's attached to the عامل. It's not standing alone. Right? So that's المتصل. الضمير المتصل, that pronoun that is attached to its عامل, its influencing word. And then the other side of it is what? الضمير المنفصل, which means that which is standing alone, which is not attached to its عامل, right? So now we are studying the first of these two categories, which is الضمير المنفصل. We've wrapped that up, so now we are ready to move on to الضمير المنفصل. Is that the case? Let's have a look. Yeah. Yes. So the last part that we covered, let me share the screen with you so you know where we are. Sharing the screen. طيب. So now we were here. The last part we covered is this part here. You're familiar with this. Now test your Arabic comprehension. This is from the previous class. Salman, you couldn't make it to the previous class. Did you manage to catch up with the video? Okay. Like we were talking about this in the last class, the types of the ضمير متصل in terms of محل الإعراب, in terms of what position of إعراب it has. We had show it to you from the beginning. ألف باء تاء, ألف باء جيم. The first one, this scroll is annoying. طيب موقعه من الإعراب, we covered this part. موقعه من الإعراب, when it comes to ضمير, طيب it has a position of إعراب. Remember this? ضمير is مبني. ضمير is مبني. And every ضمير which is an ism, when it's مبني, it has to have a position of إعراب. So what is the position of إعراب it can have? It is categorized into three. So every ضمير متصل, all the ضمائر المتصلة, the attached pronouns are split into three categories in terms of what? In terms of the position of إعراب it has. So we said the first one, ألف here, that's the one. ألف ما يختص بمحل الرفع. That is which is exclusive for رفع. It's not used for position of نصب or position of جر. Exclusive for that. Which is what? تاء الفاعل وألف الاثنين وواو الجماعة وياء المخاطبة, طيب, ونون النسبة. طيب, نون النسبة. These are the five which are exclusive to محل الرفع. طيب, meaning if you were to refer to the same thing, to the same person, but in a new different sentence, that word will be in a position of in a position of or in a different position of إعراب. Then you have to remove that ضمير and you will have to bring the equivalent of it. Does that make sense? Right? Let me demonstrate that quickly. Here, for example, if yeah, let me think of something. No. Think of this sentence. نحن نحن رجال. This is just to demonstrate what I'm talking about when it comes to having one ضمير that can stand in position of رفع, but if that ضمير is no longer in the position of رفع, you have to replace it with the equivalent ضمير of the same thing. So نحن رجال, what does نحن رجال mean? We are men. We are men. Now, if you want to confirm this sentence, you will have to bring in. One example for the ascertaining a statement is to bring in. They call it حرف توكيد. But this إن, what it does, it enters upon جملة اسمية, and it makes the مبتدا in the position of نصب, or it makes the خبر in a position of رفع. So now we will have two positions. One position for the مبتدا, one position for the مبتدا. Let's put it here. That position of what? For the مبتدا, and then another position for the خبر. Right? The position for خبر is position of what? نصب. For the مبتدا نصب. So position محله نصب. ثم and then the second one will be محله رفع. Let me bring this one before to the third page. So إن enters upon جملة اسمية. This is called النواسخ. We will study it later. But for the purpose of demonstrating how one ضمير can be suitable when we are talking about position of رفع, and when we no longer have a position of رفع, a different ضمير will have to be brought in instead of it. So now نحن, which means us, the speakers, somebody speaking on behalf of himself and others. نحن رجال. This is مرفوع. This is ضمير في محل رفع. مبتدأ. Well, this one is خبر. Now إن, when it enters upon جملة اسمية, rather than leaving it as both of them are position of رفع, it makes the first position محل نصب and the second position محل رفع. So رجال will be the same the way it was before. صح? في محل رفع you'll bring as the way it is. So you will say, okay, let me say it again. So رجال will come down the way it is. No change needed. Right? But when it comes to نحن now is a ضمير that is exclusively for محل رفع. Exclusively for محل رفع. What do? We have to bring the equivalent of that ضمير, which is في محل نصب. Which is what? Na. So rather than bringing this ضمير, which is exclusively for محل رفع, في محل رفع, you will have to bring a ضمير that is equivalent to it, but is suitable for محل نصب. So in this case, you will bring na. So you bring na. This is na. Yeah? So na will be اسم إن, and رجال will be خبر إن. And then what do? Because these are two letters of the same, we'll do idgham on them. It will become inna. Yeah? So do you see what happened there? Where initially we had نحن, which means us. But when we want to refer to us, we have to look at what position of i'rab do we have. If it's a position of رفع, we have some pronoun that is fixed for that, exclusive for that. But when we are referring to ourselves, but then we are going to be placed in a position of nasb, then in that case we have a different ضمير, which is na in that case. Do you get this idea of how you can be referring to the same thing, but you have to look at what position of i'rab you're dealing with. Yeah. So now this na here, this na is equivalent to nahnu in referring to the speaker who refers to himself and others, like us. But when it comes to the position, if we have this position of rafa', which is mubtada, we bring nahnu. If we have a position of nasb, which is ismu inna here, we bring na. You get this idea of how? Like, so here, what do we say? We're saying that there is something when it comes to نحن here is ضمير منفصل, detached, which we'll cover this shortly. But when it comes to ضمير متصل, the same concept applies. There are ones who are exclusive to رفع, ما يختص بمحل الرفع. طيب, وهي 5 ضمائر. These 5 ضمائر, these تاء الفاعل وألف الاثنين وواو الجماعة وياء المخاطبة ونون النسوة. Is that clear to all of you? And you can see them here. All these 3, all these 5, we have examples for them and we covered them already. صح? And then we went to, these are examples, we covered that already. This is second category. Second category, that which is jointly used for position of nasb and also for position of jar. There are certain ضمائر that are used not for رفع but jointly between محل نصب and محل جر. ياء المتكلم, طيب, وكاف المخاطب وهاء الغائب. These 3, they are exclusive for, they are jointly used for محل نصب أو محل جر. طيب. They are never used in a position of رفع. Yeah, and we covered that in the previous class as well. We done the Arab of these examples here. Do you remember that? طيب, it's in the video. I hope you have covered them. Now we got into Jim, the third category, which is pronouns that are used jointly by the 3: position of rafa', position of nasb, and position of jar, which is only a single one, ضمير, which is na. Right? That is the na which can be used for 3. Right? And notice here, in the example I gave you here, because na we removed نحن, which is a standing alone ضمير منفصل, and we brought in ضمير متصل, which is na. Why? Because eventually it will have to join in. طيب? And because of this, we have to bring na. Na is ضمير متصل. It becomes attached, or is written attached to its عامل. And the عامل of na here, which made it in the position of nasb, is what? The عامل that caused this ضمير na to be in a position of nasb. What is it? What's the عامل? Huh? Inna. So therefore, it's ضمير متصل. Therefore, it has to be written joint to the inna. It's not written in a separate way like this. Is it written like this? No, that's ضمير متصل. So it has to be written attached to its عامل. Yeah. So it's written like this. Inna. So you'll have this one. Inna أعطيناك الكوثر. إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر. All these are inna. So you see what's happening there. You have inna that is joined with the ism inna, which is originally the mubtada. They are written together. In, and then na. طيب. So ضمير واحد. So that ضمير which is exclusively for, that's joined by all 3 positions is only one single ضمير, and that's na. This way we got 2 in the previous class. Now we are ready to move on to الضمير المنفصل. الضمير المنفصل. ضمير المنفصل in the تعريف, it says, what does it say about the تعريف? الضمير المنفصل هو, who can read this for us? بعد إلا. بعد إلا. which means basically the opposite of previous one. طيب الضمير المنفصل هو ما يبتدأ به الكلام. That with which a sentence can begin. طيب. It may be used at the beginning of a speech. طيب. So that is what? ضمير منفصل. Second condition, it has to be a type of ضمير that is not attachable with إلا. It doesn't get attached to إلا. So عفوا هو ما يبتدأ بالكلام ويقع, and it can be after إلا ويقع بعد إلا. Okay? These are نحو. When he says نحو here, what is he telling you? So that's list of examples. It's not a comprehensive list or an exhaustive list. That's not all of them. These are a subset, only for the purpose of demonstrating the definition. Right? Meaning he can give you all of them at a later point, but at this point he's not going to overwhelm you by giving you all of them at the same time. He's giving you an idea of those ضمائر that you can have an idea about them in your head. Something that is standing alone. For example, he says نحو. If this was an exclusive list, sorry, an exhaustive list, rather than نحو, what would be a suitable word? هو هما as two things. وهي. يعني that group of pronouns, وهي, أنا وأنت وهو وإياي وإياك وإياه. هي, where is the female here? The female is the group of things, the group of pronouns. That's the female. So now that he put نحو, which means like, that tells you that he's talking about what? A subset that he carefully chose for the purpose of demonstrating the ta'rif or giving you an idea about what he's talking about, not for exhaustively covering all of them. But if that was the exhaustive list, the suitable word would have been وهي. وهي. And الضمير المنفصل هي أو هو نحو هو أنا وأنت وهو. But that's not the case. That's just an example. أنا, what does أنا mean? I. طيب. أنت, you. هو, him. him. إياي, myself. إياك, yourself. إياه, himself. Right? But you'll see it as an example. So all these things, if you take this one, for example, you can put in the sentence that we had before. أنا رجل. I am a man. أنا رجل. I can use this one. أنت, standing as a مبتدأ. I can make it أنت رجل. هو, I can make it like that. هو رجل. طيب. إياي. This is where you have ضمير منفصل, detached ضمير that stands in a position of نصب. طيب. And you will see this is very much like إياك نعبد. طيب. So rather than having نعبد ك, let me show you. إياك نعبد. So if we have نعبد ك, نعبد, صح, نعبدك. What does نعبدك mean? Yeah, we worship you. صح? We worship you. Where is the فعل? That's the فعل, sorry, نعبده. That's فعل مضارع. That's your فعل. Are you with me? That's your فعل. Where's your فاعل? ضمير مستتر تقديره نحن. So if we're going to write it, it will be written here. It will be written here. نحن ضمير مستتر. طيب. So that's the فاعل. طيب. So our فاعل is here. A hidden ضمير. I'll make it very, very small just to know that it's there. Yeah. Does that make sense? نعبدك. And now this will be our فاعل ضمير مستتر. تقديره is estimated to be نحن. How do we know? By the na. نعبد. نعبدك. If it was I, أعبدك, it would have been أعبدك. If it was her, تعبدك. If it was him, يعبدك. So the letter at the beginning of that ضمير, that فعل مضارع, is what gave us the indication as to what is the estimated ضمير مستتر. We will see that shortly, inshallah. But so far as we can say now, this is the فعل in red. That's the فعل. And the فاعل is here. And the ka here is مفعول به. You know, so the act of worshiping is done by us, and it is done to Allah, is offered to Allah. So مفعول به. This kaf stands for مفعول به, referring to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But out of veneration to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if we want him to be mentioned first, we will have to bring this kaf, we have to bring it at the beginning, right? Out of respect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then we take this. Yeah, but we're going to get to that. You're right, Ahmed. So we just took the ضمير that refers to Allah first, out of respect to him, and also to introduce exclusivity. So this would be you alone. This would mean you alone we worship. And you can see this when you look at translations, you'll find the word alone. Where did it come from, the word alone? From the fact that this ضمير, which was supposed to be at the end of the word, it was brought to the beginning. The only problem we have is that this ضمير is ضمير متصل. It can only occur attached to its عامل. Now, if we bring it before its عامل, it cannot be that ضمير. It has to be the equivalent of it, which is this ضمير called إياك. That is the ضمير that is منفصل, which can stand for this ضمير. So when it's attached, that's the ضمير منفصل. That's ضمير متصل attached to the عامل. If you wanted to make it منفصل, stand alone, then this is the equivalent. So that's why in the Quran we read إياك نعبد. So إياك and ka are exactly the same meaning. But if we want to replace the ka with another ضمير equivalent to the position of nasb, but standing alone, then this is the version that can stand alone. إياك. Right? And then by doing that also we introduce the concept of exclusivity. Right? Because if we had it like this, we could have added here نعبدك ونعبد, for example, هوانا. نعبدك ونعبد هوانا. That would have been possible, sir. You can add something after. You can say we worship you, Allah, and we worship our desires. Right? But so having it at the end will leave the sentence open for additions. It will leave the sentence open for additions. But if you bring this kaf to be at the beginning, means that you've cut off. There's no more additions. إياك, you alone we worship. Does that make sense? So with this sentence, there's room to add some more after. So therefore, when we interpret this sentence, we didn't add the word we. We said we here, but we didn't add the word alone. We worship. Sorry. You, you alone we worship. Worship. Yeah, you alone. Right? So in the first sentence, it's just we worship you. So it could be we worship you and the sun and the moon and some idols and we worship our desires. There's room for additions. But when we wanted to make this exclusivity, we brought this maf'ul bihi at the beginning. So there's no more added things after that. So that's why in the interpretation, in the translation, it says you alone we worship. Why? Because this damir now was brought at the beginning and there's no space here to add. But anyway, we've demonstrated this now, that you can have damir muttasil, in which you need to convert into damir munfasil. So you will need to bring this version of it. This is the version of this damir that can stand alone. So this is damir muttasil, attached, and this is damir munfasil. Both of them are in the same position of Arab. This is fi mahalli nasb, and this is also fi mahalli nasb. This is maf'ul bihi, and this is maf'ul bihi. Yeah? So here, going back to the book. Yeah. So iyaya, this is damir munfasil, the standalone version of damir munfasil, or of damir fi mahalli nasb. You'll see them in the examples. But these are the damair that can stand alone, damir munfasil. Now, هذه الضمائر ونحوها يصح أن يبدأ بها الكلام. These ضمائر ونحوها, meaning and the likes of it, يصح is correct, أن يبدأ بها الكلام, that speech starts with it. طيب. ويصح, and here ويصح أن تقع بعد إلا, and we can add it after إلا. طيب. إلا يعني if I say جاء الرجال, what does that mean? The men came. إلا أنا, إلا أنت, إلا هو. So can we add them after إلا? Then that means that this is ضمير منفصل. طيب. All right, let's progress. طيب. So he give examples. We can يبدأ بها نحو. Example, he says, we have an example here. This is a surah. This is a sentence in Surah Yusuf. Just consider this. Can you see that these are two words? Can you tell? These are two words, not just one word. The space between them is not clear, but this is one word, ana, and then you should have finger space between them, and then after that you should have this as another word. In this text, it shows as if they are just one single word, but ana here is damirun munfasil. It doesn't become attached to anything before it. So before it, can you see anything attached to it before it? So that's damir referring to the speaker. And this damir is in what position? Huh? In the position of rafa. So let's take it to the sign. If we take this sentence and we say, we take this sentence, أنا يوسف. Who can do the Arab of this one? يلا. طيب, let's take أنا. So we can say ضمير بارز منفصل مبني تسكت مبني على السكون في محل رفع مبتدأ. excellent brilliant. مبتدأ. ضمير بارز منفصل ضمير بارز منفصل مبني على السكون سكون السكون في محل رفع محل رفع مبتدأ. مبتدأ. Do you see what's going on here? This is في محل رفع. This is an ism with which a sentence begins. It's in the position of إعراب. It's in the position of رفع because it's مبتدأ. But the رفع is not showing on it, صح? Because it's being ضمير. So that's why we begin by saying this is the category of مبنيات it belongs to. ضمير بارز منفصل. And then what it's مبني upon, مبني على السكون. And then if it's في محل something or not, we say this 1 second. في محل رفع. And then the role it plays with the sentence. That's مبتدأ. Right? Anything unclear here? Okay. And now when it comes to Yusuf, once again, يوسف. You say خبر مرفوع علامة رفعه الضمة منع من الصرف للعالمية والعجمة. بريليانت ما شاء الله. very proud of you. طيب خبر مرفوع علامة رفعه الضمة الظاهرة على آخره. طيب منع من الصرف. So here you are explaining why there is what? بارك الله. والعجمة. كسي والعجم. That's Yusuf. Huh? So you can see the Arab now. You've already practiced the Arab. So you have أنا يوسف. أنا يوسف. This is the word أنا يوسف. طيب let's imagine now we have the same word أنا يوسف, but we want to ascertain this with إن. Okay? So to ascertain this sentence with إن, what do we bring at the beginning of it? إن. صح? إن. إن is a type of حرف that enters upon جملة اسمية, and you will learn later this is called ناسخ, meaning that alters جملة اسمية, the جملة اسمية. So rather than keeping it as مرفوع followed by مرفوع, it becomes منصوب followed by مرفوع. So now if we bring إن, can you tell that this ضمير here is no longer suitable? Why? Because أنا is ضمير رفع. It's a ضمير that is exclusive for رفع. So rather than having أنا, what will you need? the ياء المتكلم. طيب, but if you attach this ياء ساكنة, طيب, if you attach it to the إن, what will happen? Rather than having إن, it will be إني. That's it. So now when you look at إني like this, you know you're dealing with what? You're dealing with إن, and then that ضمير which is in the position of nasb. So rather than having أنا, now I have إي. So two ضميrs referring to the same person, the speaker, but when it was in the position of رفع, it was أنا يوسف. And then if I want to ascertain it, and then I added إن at the beginning of it, now that ضمير is no longer suitable. I need a ضمير that is في محل نصب. It became إني يوسف. إني يوسف. Does that make sense? طيب. If we were to take this sentence, yeah, you have not learned this one, but I've demonstrated to you how different, the same person, whether the speaker or al-mukhatab or the third person, we can be referring to the same thing. And we may need to use different ضمير depending on the position of Arab. Does that make sense? So here, this sentence in Surah Yusuf, أنا يوسف, وجه ضمير إعراب وقت. إياك نعبد. طيب, let's do the إعراب of إياك نعبد. We covered it before, but we haven't done the إعراب وقت, صح? Let's bring it. Yeah. Oh, we haven't done إياك نعبد. Yeah, إياك نعبد. This is the one. إياك نعبد. Let's do the إعراب وقت. So say, for example, you have this sentence. Ahmed, can you have a go at this? How many words do you have there? What two? You can see two words. But what's more important here is for you to recognize what type of sentence you're dealing with. That's the tricky part of this, about the sentence. Because when you look at إياك, you may be tricked into thinking that this is جملة اسمية. صح? Because it begins with ضمير, and ضمير is اسم. But you knowing that this ضمير is ضمير نصب. Any ضمير that begins with إيا is ضمير نصب. طيب, like إياك, إياكي, إيايا, إيانا, إياه, إياها, إياهما, إياهم, إياهن. Anything that begins with إيا, طيب, is ضمير نصب. طيب. So you know in this, that will make you decide that I cannot decide the type of sentence based on this. طيب. If this was نحن نعبد, that would be indifferent, صح? Because نحن is a ضمير that comes in a position of رفع, right? So that will tell me that this sentence is جملة اسمية. But now I have إياك, and I have now learned that any ضمير that begins with the word إيا is ضمير نصب. So that tells me that I'm going to look at this word and think to myself, I will not use this word to determine if I'm dealing with a جملة اسمية or جملة فعلية. So what I'll do, I jump this word into the following one. The following one is this one here. نعبد. That's فعل مضارع. صح? Therefore, I have decided that this is جملة فعلية. طيب? Very good. So now we have جملة فعلية. How many words are we dealing with? Two spoken words, but there's one ضمير مستتر, which is that thing that where we put the star here, صح? That is what? نحن ضمير مستتر تقديره نحن. Remember this, Salman? طيب, so let's do the إياك. Give me a second. Just like I said previously, when we spoke about something else of the same context, إيا, do we say إيا is the ضمير here, and kaf is an attached harf to indicate or to specify the one being referred to, right? Or do we say that both of them, these two words, is just one single ضمير? So where is the ضمير? Is it only إيا, or the whole of إياك? If we say it's إيا, then this will become another harf, and we will be dealing with two words. If we say the whole thing is one ضمير, then we have only one word, right? This is a difference between the Basri school of thought and the Kufi school of thought, which is of no concern to us. The easier of the two is what? To treat it as single word. So whenever there's a difference of opinion, we go by the easiest. Right? So إيا is ضمير بارز, and then what? منفصل. أحسنت. منفصل مبني على الفتحة. Yeah, because we said the whole thing is one word. So there's فتحة and على الفتحة. ها؟ نصب مفعول به. would you add to that؟ مقدم مفعول به مقدم. meaning مفعول به. you know what مفعول به means, huh? مفعول به means مفعول به. مفعول به that's the object. به. مقدم means brought forward, which means that's not the default. The default should it be the typical use that the مفعول به comes after the فعل. So now it is brought forward. مقدم means brought forward. So that's it. ضمير بارز منفصل مبني على الفتحة في محل نصب. Anything unclear here? No. Now the next word is our فعل مضارع, صح? which is نعبد. أحمد continue. فعل مضارع. Obviously, Salman, this is new to you. We haven't covered فعل مضارع yet. Bear with us for this. So فعل, and for those following online, we have not yet covered the إعراب of فعل مضارع yet. Our intention is to cover ضمائر, أسماء الإشارة, and أسماء الموصولة, and then we'll do with the إعراب. But now that we have it as an example, we'll have to the إعراب. It's فعل مضارع. أحمد. مرفوع بالتجرد من الناصب والجازم. علامة رفعه. You can say both, but علامة رفعه without the واو is more eloquent. علامة رفعه الظاهرة على آخره. very good. والفاعل مستتر تقديره. How did we estimate it to be تقديره نحن؟ the noon at the beginning, صح؟ نعبد مرفوع بالتجرد من الناصب علامة رفعه الضمة. So this is the part that is new to you, but we will cover it inshallah. We will cover it when it comes to the فعل المضارع إن شاء الله. والفاعل, remind you that this is the most suitable place to add what? الفاعل. Yeah. If we don't have the فاعل there physically present, then the most suitable place to say الفاعل ضمير مستتر تقديره هو is where? Immediately after the فعل. So that's why we had the فعل نعبد, and immediately after the فعل what do we have? والفاعل ضمير مستتر. All right. There you go. That is he says, so these are the two examples. أنا يوسف وإياك نعبد. We done the Arab of them. وتقع بعد إلا, meaning these ضمائر, they are okay to occur after إلا. As evidence, he says وما يعلم جنود ربك إلا هو. طيب, obviously this sentence has the concept of exception, which is استثناء, something you have not covered it, so we're not going to do the Arab of that yet. But just see that هو occurred after إلا. إياه أمر أن لا تعبدوا إلا إياه. إياه occurred after إلا, right? Occurred, so that is what? ضمير منفصل. So they notice that anything that can occur after إلا is ضمير منفصل. موقعه من الإعراب. So when it comes to ضمير منفصل, what are the positions of إعراب it can hold? What are they? I'm asking you. What do you think they are? Yeah, الرفع والنصب والجر. Why? Because they are اسم. An اسم has these three positions of إعراب available to him, to the اسم, yeah? Which is what? الرفع والنصب والجر. So we want to see the same when we categorize these ضمائر الضمائر المنفصلة, the detached ضمائر, can we categorize them in terms of position of إعراب? The answer is yes. The first one, قال أحمد, read the sentence for me, please. And I want you to tell me the interpretation of that sentence in English as accurate as possible. Read it first. ينقسم الضمير المنفصل بحسب موقعه من الإعراب إلى قسمين. The detached pronoun. No, it's not R. Why is it R? You said R in the translation. Huh? The detached pronoun is or splits. Huh? Splits into categories
based on the positions.
Excellent. Based on the position of Arab, the detached ضمير pronoun splits into two categories. Two categories, not three, two. Remember? Unlike the first one, we had three categories for the attached one. So قال ما يختص, the first category is ما يختص بالرفع. ما يختص بالرفع. What does that mean, Salman? When you read the sentence, what does it mean to you? Number one, the first category, ما يختص بمحل الرفع. Give it a go. What's your best guess? Huh? Yeah, but the word you're accurate. يختص here, this فعل مضارع, it means that which is exclusive بمحل الرفع for محل الرفع. So ما, that which يختص exclusive بمحل الرفع for the position of رفع. So that's the first category. That ضمير or those ضمائر pronouns that are exclusive only for the purpose of محل الرفع. طيب. What are they? How many are they? 12 ضميرا. 12 ضميرs. 12. 12 ضميرا. طيب. هي. And now he says نحو or هي. What does he tell you? That's his listing everything now. طيب. If that was only a sample, he would have said نحو. Very good. So هي أنا ونحن, أنت وأنت وأنتما, أنتم أنتن, هو هي هما هم هن. How many of them? We can count them. 12 of them. 12 of them. All these ضمائر, remember at the beginning we said that ضمير is that which refers to either the speaker, المتكلم, or the addressee, the one spoken to, المخاطب, or a third person, الغائب. طيب. That's what ضمير is. It refers to one of the three. So these 12 ضمائر, they refer to either the speaker or the addressee, المخاطب, المتكلم or المخاطب, or thirdly, they refer to الغائب. That's how they are. So when it comes to the speaker, طيب, a person speaking can be either referring to himself as a single person, in which case the suitable ضمير would be أنا, as you can see in the screen. أنا. If this person is a singular speaking person, obviously, and he's referring to himself and somebody else. himself and somebody else. Either one person, two more people, three more people, 10 people, 100 people, it doesn't matter. But himself as well as somebody else. The suitable damir is nahnu. The only case in which you will have damir nahnu being used for only a single person is if this person wants to glorify themselves. Okay? Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, نحن خلقناهم وشددنا أسرهم. نحن, we created them. Okay? Why is he saying to himself, even though he's singular, he's mufrad, he's wahid? Because this is the plural of glorification. Okay? So ana is for a single person. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to himself in the Quran with ana when the context is the oneness of Allah, Tawheed. When the context is indicating the greatness of Allah, the power of Allah, the reach of Allah, then Allah will not use ana to refer to himself. He would use what? Nahnu. Like nahnu khalaqnahum. We created them. Why is using nahnu as opposed to ana? Huh? To highlight the glory, the greatness, because creating them requires a lot of greatness and power. Yeah? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke to Musa alayhi salam, he says, Ya Musa, he says, Inni ana Allah. Inni ana Allah. La ilaha illa ana fa'budni. I am Allah. But he says, ana. He didn't say nahnu. Why? Because he's speaking about Inni ana Allahu. La ilaha illa ana tawheed. Okay? So, ana refers to a single person. That's the default use of it. Nahnu is for a person, a speaker, that refers to himself when he represents himself and others. Or a speaker that represents only himself, but to indicate greatness. Is that clear? Yeah. So these two are for the first category, the speaker person, the speaking person, the first person. The second category, the second category is the addressee, al-mukhatab. This mukhatab could be masculine, singular masculine, could be a singular feminine, could be dual masculine, could be dual feminine, could be plural masculine, could be plural feminine. How many possibilities? 6. Let me say that again. Could be singular masculine, could be singular feminine, could be dual masculine, and then could be dual feminine. Then finally it could be plural plural masculine, and it could be plural feminine. Could be mufradun mudhakkar, mufradun muannath, muthannan mudhakkar, or muthannan muannath, and it could be jam'un mudhakkar, or could be jam'un muannath. 6 possibilities. Right? But when you look at so for the speaking person, we could also be having 6 possibilities. Can you see that? So we could have 6 possibilities for the mutakallim. The mutakallim could be referring to himself as a single person, and he happens to be singular masculine. And it could be a single person referring to himself. It could be what? Singular feminine. And it could be a singular person referring to a singular male referring to himself and another male. And it could be a singular female referring to herself and another female. Right? It could be a group of men, it could be a group of women. But in that category, the speaker, the only ones that are relevant is ana wa nahnu. Right? But when it comes to the addressee, we have 6 possibilities, but only 5 damirs required for them. 5 damir. Right? Check that. For the mufrad mudhakkar, the singular masculine, anta. For the mufrad muannath, we have anti. So anta, as you can see on the screen, anta wa anti. Anta wa anti, the first two. And then for the two muthanna, the two dual, masculine and feminine, both of them can be referred to by antuma. There's no difference between the genders, antuma. So when it comes to the singular, there's a difference, anta wa anti. When it comes to the dual, the muthanna, there's no difference, antuma, for both. When it comes to the plural, antum for the plural masculine. For the plural feminine, it's antunna. Does that make sense? And that's why we end up with 5 damirs when we have how many possibilities? 6 possibilities, but we only have 5 damir. Yes? The same thing with al-ghaib. The third person could be, again, a singular masculine, could be singular feminine, could be dual masculine, could be dual feminine, could be plural masculine, it could be plural feminine. Right? 6 possibilities. Yet we have here how much? How many? 5 pronouns referring to all of them. Why? Because the middle one, huma, is suitable for both the dual masculine and the dual feminine. So it's good for you to realize how many possibilities you can have and then how many dhamir you have available. Right? Huwa, the first one, huwa, is exclusive for the singular masculine. Hiya, singular feminine. Huma, dual, regardless of gender. Hum, plural masculine. Hunna is plural feminine. These are the dhamir. So these are the dhamir that are what? Exclusive to mahal al-rafa. You will never find any of these i'rab, any of these sentences, any of these dhamair that is not in a position of rafa. Whether it is mubtada, whether it is fa'il, whether it is na'ib fa'il, whether it is khabar, whatever it may be, but it has to be a position of rafa. Right? So you can eliminate, you can use a process of elimination. When you see any of these dhamair, you can see clearly that it must be from mahal rafa. طيب قال, what did you say, Ahmed? After هذه, after that he said هذه, and then هذه ها؟
لا تقع إلا في محل رفع.
هذه الضمائر لا تقع إلا في محل رفع. What does that mean, Ahmed?
These pronouns except in the position of rafa.
Except these pronouns only occur in a position of rafa. Right? Now he gives you examples. أنا يوسف, we've covered that already. طيب. Now this sentence, we have ضمير, we have فعل مضارع, so it's not suitable for us now. We can pass that. This is مستثنى, we haven't covered the استثناء. طيب, so this is the first category. ضمائر that are what? Exclusive for رفع. طيب. Now the second and last category is ما يختص بمحل النصب. That which is exclusive for محل النصب. Only for محل النصب. طيب. Which tells you that there is no ضمير منفصل في محل جر. So we have only 2 categories. ضمير في محل ضمير بارز منفصل في محل رفع أو ضمير بارز منفصل في محل نصب. There is no ضمير بارز منفصل في محل جر. Does that make sense to you? Why is that the case? Who can tell us? Why is there no ضمير بارز منفصل في محل جر?
With the اسم مجرور will always be under the wing of.
Yeah, very good. So that اسم مجرور is called مجرور because it's under the wing of something, صح? If it's under the wing of something, it has to occur right after it. And in this case, we are talking about ضمير that doesn't come right after anything. It doesn't come right after its عامل. Right? If it's في محل جر, it's either مجرور بالحرف, حرف جر, أو مجرور بالإضافة. In both cases, it has to be after the عامل, right? So for that purpose, we're not dealing with anything that is في محل جر. طيب? Does that make sense? طيب. ما يختص بمحل, let me quickly show you the map that we had from before. Yes, remember this map? So when it comes to منفصل, right, only 2 categories. مختص بمحل الرفع, that which is exclusive for محل الرفع, and we just covered them. أنا ونحن وأنت وأنت وهما وهم وهن وهو وهي وهما وهم وهن. صح? Is that the case? طيب. So that is مختص بمحل الرفع. مختص بمحل النصب ضمير واحد. One single ضمير وصوره 12 صورة, that has 12 forms. Single ضمير that has 12 forms. But we're going to cover that. But we don't have a third box here saying مختص بمحل الجر. There's no في محل جر. Huh? Going back to the book. طيب. So ما يختص بمحل الرفع. That which is exclusive for محل النصب. ضمير واحد. What is this ضمير? إيا. طيب, again we covered it not long ago. صح? ضمير إيا. طيب. He says here وتلحقه حروف, and it is followed by حروف. So basically he's considering the ضمير to be only إيا, and that which comes after it is what? Is حرف, not ضمير. So if I say إيايا, إيانا, إياك, إياكي, إياكما, إياكم, إياكن, إياه, إياها, إياهما, إياهم, إياهن. These are the 12 forms. Right? But all the حروف that are added to the end of إيا are حروف, not ضميرs. Right? So if I say إياك, that kaf at the end, if we consider them as two different words, we will not say إيا is one ضمير and the ka is another ضمير. That's something you have to be mindful of. Otherwise, you'll be thinking the first one has to have a position of i'rab, and the second one has to also have a position of i'rab. Okay? But only the first one is ضمير, and therefore it has to have a position of i'rab. The second one is harf. It doesn't have to have a position of i'rab. Okay? So there are two schools of thoughts. One school of thought that regarded them as two words, إيا being the only one, the ضمير, and then what's attached to it, all are حروف. So how many forms of إيا do we have? The same as we had before. So إيايا, إيانا, for the speaker, 2, right? And for the one spoken to, for the مخاطب, how many? 5. So إياك, إياكي, إياكما, إياكم, إياكن. For the غائب, how many possibilities do we have? So you have 6 possibilities, but 5 ضمائر, صح? So to attach those ضمائر to إيا, it will be إياه. But that who is no longer ضمير now. It's حرف. طيب? Without إيا, it will be ضمير. طيب? Like ضربه. The who here is ضمير. لكن إياه, now who will become what? حرف. Does that make sense? So إياه, إياها, إياهما, إياهم, إياهن. طيب? When you go through this, please do practice this, the possibilities, and run them in your mouth. Huh? أنا ونحن, أنت وأنت, وأنتما وأنتم, وأنتن, هو وهي, وهما, وهم, وهن. To make it slightly more complex for yourself, put them in a sentence. أنا رجل. أنا رجل. I keep changing the word. So أنا رجل, نحن رجال, أنت رجل, أنت امرأة, أنت امرأة. أنتما, when it comes to أنتما, you have 2 possibilities. أنتما رجلان, وأنتما امرأتان, وأنتم رجال, وأنتن رجال, وهو أنتن نساء, أو أنتن نساء أو نسوة. when it comes to الغائب, هو رجل, هي امرأة, هما رجلان, وهما امرأتان, وهم رجال, وهن نساء. So this is, you understanding the system of ضمائر will allow you to shut your book and take one sentence and then run it. Right? So if I give you further, I give you another sentence, take one sentence and I can ask you to run it for the 12 possibilities, for the 12 ضمائر, or even for the 18 possibilities, for the 18 possibilities. For example, if you say أنا رجل, right? I am a man. But then there's another possibility. If I am not a woman, if the speaking person is not masculine, she will be saying what? أنا امرأة. Right? So we have two possibilities within أنا. Right? نحن. Within نحن, we have four possibilities. If I'm speaking about one person that happens to be a man representing another man, he will say نحن رجلان. If I'm speaking about a person that happens to be female, that she represents herself, another female, she will say نحن امرأتان. And then we have the plural نحن, if a person speaking and representing other men, نحن رجال. If we're speaking about one individual person that speaks on behalf of another others, where she is a female, she will be saying what? نحن نساء. So you can see that now if you understand the system, you can just take a sentence and then run it in the 18 possibilities now, right? And then this way you can practice without having a book in front of you. Just understand the system of the mayor, right? For example, I can tell you, take the word أنا أكتب and يلا run it. 18 possibilities. What would you say? 18 possibilities. Yeah, Ahmed, run it. أنا أكتب, what does it mean? I write. Right? I write. Let's use فعل ماضي because it's something you can cover, you have covered before. أنا كتبت. أنا كتبت. Right? Now run it for 18 possibilities. What would you say? أنا كتبت. أنا كتبت. For the third one, نحن كتبنا. نحن كتبنا. نحن كتبنا. نحن كتبنا. نحن كتبنا. That's a 6 for the متكلم. طيب now المخاطب. أنت كتبت. أنت كتبتي. أنتما كتبتما. لا, for the two. أنتما كتبتما. أنتم كتبتم. أنتن كتبتن. And then for the غائب. هو كتب. هي كتبت. هما كتبا. لا, كتبتا. أحسنت. هما كتبتا. هم كتبوا. كتبنا. هن كتبنا. You can see now, subhanAllah, you had to stop and think, صح? When it comes to speaking, if you have not trained your brain to switch between pronouns and references like this easily, right, you will have problems speaking. You'll find yourself standing there not knowing what pronoun to use, which one is relevant, which one is not relevant, and how to form it. So your ability to take one sentence and then run it to the 18 possibilities, that will really go a long way in making you speak faster. Okay? So to start with, you know that we all the time, whenever you use pronouns, you should know that you have 18 possibilities, right? And now you are familiar with them, right? Do I need to run them again? 18, 6 for the speaker, 6 for the addressee, meaning 6 for the mutakallim, 6 for the mukhatab, and then 6 for the ghaib, the third person, right? These are the 18 possibilities. So you take one sentence and you run it. I will take one session and then we will special for this purpose, just exercising this notion. But if you are able, whatever sentence you have, ask yourself, let me see if I can run it for the 18 possibilities. And then when you are studying together as students, also challenge yourself to do this. Take one sentence and then run it. Right? Obviously, as you advance, when I teach you, for example, أنا, you say أنا رجل. Right? And I will ask you to ascertain this with inna. You will say إنني رجل إنني امرأة إننا رجلان إننا امرأتان إننا رجال إننا نساء. طيب and then إنك رجل إنك امرأة إنكما رجلان. So basically, once you know the system, being able to run sentences without looking at a book will be very easy for you. And this is exactly what your brain needs. Your brain needs to be able to not look at words, but be able to utter them and say them depending on who you're speaking to, what you are making the sentence referring to. Okay? You want to say something, Salman?
I thought it was in terms of names, but
Yeah, so he said, inni.
so, so in
Yeah, inni or innani. When it comes to, it's the same. You can say inni or innani. Right? My point of this point here is that I would like you to see that when it comes to dhama'ir, whenever people speak the language, the first thing they struggle with is pronouns. What pronouns to use? So you'll find them, even speakers of English, you see them when they first learn the language, you start messing up with their pronouns. Huh? So if you want to speed up your ability to read, to speak, right, master pronouns. Right? Master the pronouns. How do you do this? Easy. You don't even need a second person to practice with. Just take one sentence and then run it. Right? Like I said, at the end of this, inshallah, I will make one session just for this purpose, inshallah. Or part of the session, inshallah. طيب. قال ما يختص بمحل النصب, that which is dedicated for the position of nasb. ضمير واحد, one single ضمير. And he's saying this because he's of the school of thought that regards the ضمير to be إيا alone, and that appendix at the end is a harf, an added harf to it. So basically he's saying that we look at two words, the first of which is ضمير, the second of which is harf. But the second, the other school of thought is to regard them all together as ضمير. طيب. قال وتلحقه حروف للدلالة على التكلم والخطاب والغيبة. So there are حروف coming after إيا, طيب, للدلالة, to indicate either التكلم, الدلالة على التكلم, that this is referring to the speaking person, والخطاب, referring to the second party, والخطاب, والغيبة, referring to the third party. So you have جملة مبنية على التكلم, وجملة مبنية على الخطاب, وجملة مبنية على الغيبة. So a sentence that is built in reference to the speaker, and a sentence that is built upon al-khitab, where you speak to somebody. The one reference is second person. والغيبة جملة مبنية على الغيبة, meaning a jumla that is made in reference to al-ghayba. And this is what I said to you, the three possibilities, each of which has 6 possibilities to make 18 altogether. قال وصوره مع اللواحق 12 صورة. وصوره مع اللواحق 12 صورة. طيب, here you have with the appendices, طيب, we have 12 صورة, 12 forms. So he says one ضمير but 12 forms. The other school of thought would say what? 12 ضميرs. All of them we just consider as ضمير. What are they? للمتكلم, for the speaker, he would say either إيايا or إيانا. These two will be in a position of what? نصب. And you can see all of them start with إيا. Can you see that? All of them, they begin with إيا. Yeah? للمخاطب, for the second person, we have the kaf. The kaf. But the first one has kaf with fatha, then kaf with kasra, and then kaf dhamma, but with 3 possibilities. Can you see? This is kaf with dhamma, this is kaf with dhamma, This is kaf with dhamma, صح? But how do we differentiate between them? This would have ma, and this have mim sakina, and this will have na. Okay? So basically, all of them they have kaf. Can you see that? All of them they have kaf. This kaf, they call it kafu al-khitab. Kaf al-khitab. And when it comes to al-ghaib, can you see that all of them they have ha? Iyahu, and then ha, and then huma, and then hum, and then hunna. And that tells us something then. When it comes to khitab, we have kaf al-khitab. When it comes to al-ghaib, we have ha al-ghaib or ha al-ghaiba. This ha. So when you're speaking, when you're referencing a second person, kaf will be there. When you're referencing a third person, ha will be there. Ha or one of its variants. Kaf or one of its variants. When it comes to the speaker, it will be either ya and yana. That's why this is how you can memorize it. And like I said, if you ask me, do I have them written as a list in my head? No. Do I memorize them as part of a poem? No. I know the system. I know the system. So I can close my eyes and I can imagine 6 possibilities for the mutakallim, 6 possibilities for the mukhatab, 6 possibilities for the ghaib, and I can run one sentence and I can figure out whatever I need to figure out. Okay? So you should try to memorize them, maybe at the beginning, try to memorize them, but eventually it will become spontaneous. It will become a second nature, inshallah. So he's giving examples for dhamir that is in a position of nasb, dhamirun munfasirun fi mahalli nasbin. He gave you iyyaka na'bud, which is something that we have already covered. وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَنْ لَا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ. It has a lot of things here that we have not covered yet. So I'm going to pass that. يخرجون وإنا أو إياكم لعلى هدى أو مستقيم. طيب, I think this is sufficient. So now you got the idea of ضمير منفصل. Just get the concept. Once we have all these nitty-gritties touched upon, we touched upon all of them, we will be able to tackle full sentences, full more complex sentences, because all the individual components of this complex sentence, we have tackled them separately. Right? But at this point, we are unable to tackle like complex sentences because we find, oh, there's a system that we have not covered yet. There's a component we have not covered yet. So we are only going to go through examples that we have covered. How much are we doing with time? Yes. Okay, okay, we can stop here, inshallah. That will leave us with what? That would leave us for next week only with one dhamir, which is one category, which is this one here. Al-Dhamir al-Mustatir. Can you see this one? This dhamir will be dhamir al-Mustatir for next week, inshallah. Okay? And that way we will be finished, inshallah, with dhamair. Do you have any questions about what we covered today? For the people viewing online, you can ask questions online. You can place them online, inshallah. And if I see them during the session, I will answer them. Otherwise, I will cater for them in the following class, inshallah. I will answer them in the following class. Okay? Otherwise, we'll stop here, inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.